Whoa, hey, happy Friday and welcome back to the trading desk. My name is Joshua Thanos and this is my partner.
What's going on, guys? Jason Mane here. Friday. It's Friday.
It is Friday.
It's Friday, guys.
Happy weekend, guys. I'm glad you guys decided to end your week with us, and we're going to end our week with you. First, we start with wrist shots. Jay, what you got?
Nah, I'm good. You're going to be very surprised with the watch that I wear all the time. That's the 114060. Very exclusive. There's only one of these made. Ceramic, non-date Submariner. That was a joke. This is a very common watch, but
at least you cleaned the crystal this time.
Yeah. I love this guy. Very common signs of wear on this, but overall, fantastic watch for daily wear. And the Panerai hasn't been seeing much wrist time, so maybe switch it up a little bit.
You gonna sell it?
No,
Okay.
I won't. Not unless I
could,
upgrade to something bigger and better. But
I think you get a two-tone piece next, honestly.
Two-tone? I don't have anything two-tone in
Two-tone
my collection.
black
That'd be
sub.
kind of cool.
I was thinking about that. I might pick that up. All right, so on the wrist here today, I have a watch that most of you have seen before, and that's my Bell & Ross BR123. This is the less popular, I guess, round case as opposed to the square cases that they're known for. Great watch, automatic, 41 millimeter, though it wears a little bit larger than that. Today I have it on a Zulu strap, which is similar to a NATO, but it's just one piece of cloth. It doesn't have the extra. I like this much better than that rubber strap that I had on there before. Actually, I took the rubber strap off and put it on a Stoa watch, which made the Stoa feel better.
That he does not own.
Yeah, I own a Stoa.
You own it?
But yeah, it's cool. So I have a Stoa chronograph. Maybe I'll wear it on the show, not next week because I'll be out of town, but the week after.
Don't do that.
Okay, I won't. So yeah, there's my vintage-inspired heritage vintage Bell & Ross something or other, 41 millimeter.
It's a cool watch. It actually
automatic time and date.
Yeah, we were talking about. I put that on my wrist when you took it off earlier, and it wears larger than a 41. I think it's
without a doubt.
the way
right?
the way the bezel comes off the case. It's kind of
and it has straight lugs too, so it's nice.
It sits pretty well for what it is.
Yeah, I like it. Whereas it's if you own a Panerai, it's like a nice watch to keep in a collection as well. So yeah, all right. And Jason, what's next after wrist shots today?
So we have a this or that poll in usual fashion.
Oh yeah, you picked this, didn't you?
I picked kind of. It was a kind of a collab thing. So we went with what we're gonna call funky chronos or
ugly chronographs.
Ugly chronographs.
Right. So yeah, we wanted to pick something different. Every week we pick like watches that people like or somewhat in demand watches and things like that. So this week we went the opposite way. Watches that don't get a lot of love. Yeah. So Jason,
they're cool in the kind of way that like it makes sense. It's like a pug. It's like so ugly that it's kind of cool, or kind of cute. I think.
I think a pug is just because it's like a dog and you can't hate dogs. Like
I guess.
Dogs.
But so my pick was actually this vintage Flightmaster.
Vintage?
It's an actual vintage 1971, which in and of itself is kind of cool. I think like the vintage, I like the Mark II Speedmaster a little bit better. Similar size, similar kind of case in that vintage era case, but this is a 1971 Flightmaster, and you can see it has some.
That's a dirty crystal.
It has some abuse on the case, which that's the original. It has not been refinished, which is really nice. I know Mike Michaels went through this watch and said the movement was awesome. And
you bought that watch,
I bought this, yeah. And the coolest thing about this was that it's untouched and it's an original owner watch. So I got it from a guy who sold me one watch before, but this was his father's watch and he bought it new.
Wow.
So it's got one owner. And it's got some, obviously some.
Jason.
I don't think so. I think, the merit in this, and it's so cool though. If you look at the inlays and the chron, you see the chrono pushers, those inlays, like they just don't do stuff like that anymore.
What is that? That case is called what? Is it like a bull? It's not a bullhead, right?
No.
What do they call that?
The bullhead would be like the Omega case with the crown at the 12 o'clock.
Okay.
I don't know I'm sure there's a terminology for this case. I don't know what it is. Not gonna lie to you. Why
not?
This is similar to like the Oris has the Chronoris case, which has that like similar kind of tonode look. This one, they also do, like I said, I like the Mark II Speedmaster case better than this.
Yeah.
But this is cool because it's from 71. It's cherry on the inside, slightly worn on the outside, which is all the love. But clean crystal, just this is something that you could wear.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's cool. It definitely has that ex spaceman look to it, which is kind of neat.
And it's definitely ugly.
I think it fits the quirky catalog.
There you go. You see it on my wrist here. Yeah.
And it's plenty. I mean, what's cool about that piece too is that it's plenty large enough for a modern. It's a big modern size watch.
Sure. From the 70s, yeah.
Right, from the 70s. So if you're a guy that's like, I only wear 43, 44 millimeter watches, you could wear that. And the bracelet has enough links in it that, it'll fit your wrist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, you got to take some links out of this. Can you put this on a strap, possibly?
Yeah, I'm sure.
How?
I'm sure. You probably put it on a NATO. It look kind of cool.
It's weird to see, like, the way that the bracelet goes, here. The bracelet goes into the bottom of the case right there.
Not uncommon. Same thing with the Mark II case.
Right. So you got to figure out some way to put a strap. I think this might be a better watch on a strap. Cool. So there you go. You got your Flightmaster. So my ugly chronograph, I actually kind of like it. It's cool. So here you go. It's a Girard-Perregaux 1945. This is not the XL. So this is 1945 chronograph. So GP is a brand that doesn't get really a lot of love. So obviously Omega is Omega, right? They sell a ton of watches. GP, not so many. This is, though, an in-house chronograph. You have this square 1945 case. The cool thing about this watch, so let's see if we can get it. All right. What is this? Convex, right?
Yeah.
So it's the case, the crystal, and the dial are all convex, which, making a convex dial is unbelievably difficult, right? I think the retail on this watch is like $10,000. So I think a lot of that has to do with how difficult it is to make. Resale in regards is... the resale for this, though, this is a watch that you can find out there for about less than $4,000. Hey, turn off the sound on your phone, Jay.
There's deals, man. Can't stop all the deals.
That's right. So this watch, not only does it have convex case, convex crystal, and convex dial, it's got a depth in the dial. So the registers, the chrono registers, are actually cut out into the watch here. I don't know if there's a way you can zoom in and see that.
Yeah. One of the redeeming qualities of that dial, I think, it's kind of hard to see there because of the crystal, but there's some depth.
So if you want to see the depth, just go ahead and buy the watch. But it's cool. The hands are short, which is kind of weird. Also funky. It's like a stubby chrono hand, which, maybe you like that. I don't know. I like it.
That piece kind of, there's a lot of Frank Mueller drawback and kind of similarity to me with the way that the corners dive down in the dial.
Mm-hmm. And it fits nicely too. So like I have about a 7-inch wrist. Let's see how it goes. There you go. For anyone listening on the podcast, lots of awkward silence while we look at the watch on my wrist. All right. So it fits nicely. It's I believe this is what, it fits like a 41 millimeter is really what it fits like. I don't know the dimensions on this watch. It's actually for sale on our website. If you haven't noticed, we just take watches out of the safe for this or that for the most part because it's easier this way. But yeah, so it wears roughly like a 41. It can be a dress watch if you want it to be. It can also be, kind of an everyday piece. It's funky. You're not really going to see too many of these out there. So yeah, I think if you want like an off the beaten path, ugly chronograph, this is the way to go. Girard-Perregaux 1945. They make an XL and an XXL, which are both absurdly large, and probably you want to avoid those. This one fits nicely though.
Yeah, the double XL is like, it's up there. It's big. It wears like
it's ridiculous.
50+ millimeter watch. It's
crazy. It wears like a
super adventure.
Right, like some huge Panerai, which is unwearable. So let's see here. Looks like a lot of people in the chat box are not liking. Looks ugly on you, Josh, says BS. Well, that's the point here. They're not liking my Girard-Perregaux. So let's go ahead and check the poll results. Go ahead. Throw them up there. I have a feeling there might be a loser. Hey! Yes!
But here's the thing.
No, there's no things.
No, but I want to clarify.
Guys. So hold on.
Does that mean that people think
that
the winner of the poll
Jason,
is the ugliest watch?
Jason,
or
just accept your loss here. So if you're listening on the podcast, me, Josh, I'm winning.
Me, Josh.
That's me. I'm winning. 61% of the votes are going to the Girard-Perregaux because you know why? It's a better watch.
Or is it the uglier chronograph?
So on to the next topic, Jason.
Real quick, I want everybody in the chat box. I appreciate, but a couple comments. We got all of our regular guys. Matt Forster's in there. He likes the Omega better.
He's not voting enough.
Captain Zed said that what if we don't like either one? What do we do? And then someone said then we vote for
next week.
We vote for the weapon on the table instead.
Yeah. So you know what? Somebody made a comment about how the GP looks like a Squadra, which also is an underappreciated watch. I've always liked the Squadra, the Jlc Reversal Squadron, which is like the big square case watch that does not sell very well through retail, and pre-owned they tank hard. So if you like the watch, you can get them pretty cheap. And yeah, there's a few people on here saying that the GP tanks on resale. That is absolutely true, which makes it a value play.
Right.
So if you buy it at market price, it's worth
the Squadra is better than that, but still not a great watch. The Squadra's okay on anything but that rubber coated bracelet.
You're so wrong. You could not be more wrong about that. In fact, I got the backing of a guy named Tim Masso who says it's the best bracelet that a JLC makes, and just really one of the best bracelets in the industry.
JLC makes maybe, but it doesn't mean
you can disagree with Tim, but you'd be wrong. That's right. I had a conversation with him just this week about that.
That's fine.
I love that articulated rubber bracelet. That's fantastic.
What happens to it after the rubber starts to go? Then how much are you in a new bracelet?
Well, I mean, listen, if you take care of your stuff, you don't have to worry about it, Jason.
I don't like it. Same thing with Cartier rubber-coated bracelets. The same thing. On the Must 21s, those rubber bracelets. I used to have to order.
Yeah, but don't wear a Must 21.
All of those bracelets are stupid expensive.
Discontinued watch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a reason.
Anyways, so in segment, and we'll get back to the poll at the end because I feel like it's gonna level out.
Why'd you text all your friends?
Yeah, no,
and your family.
I activated the Russian hacker bot.
First of all, that's my family, by the way.
All right. Yeah, so we got in tradition of the buy sell trade, we set up one of those segments.
Oh, we're doing that
today.
Next?
Yeah, we're gonna do buy sell trade.
All right, yeah, I like that. We did that last time with divers, I think.
Yeah. So.
Boom, cool graphic.
Bom bom bom.
All right. So, what are we buying, selling, and trading this week, Jay?
This week, going with the vintage kind of theme of the watch, I thought we would go with picks. We went into the vault, kind of found cool vintage watches for buy sell trade.
Some vintage watches?
Yeah, some of this stuff I think is a good look. The idea was like a good look back to a vintage piece that's popular now. Like the modern version is popular now. Mm-hmm. Let's go take a look at what's good for buy sell trade in the vintage aspect of it.
Okay, so a vintage
kind
buy
of
sell
a throwback.
Trade.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, so what's our buy?
So the buy watch today, we'll pull up the graphic here, is the Mark II. So we made reference to that in the wrist shot of this Flightmaster, and we could pull up the large graphic of that as well.
Another ugly chrono.
So this case, I think, is underappreciated by people that aren't Speedmaster enthusiasts. The Mark II has that same case shape, but it's much more comfortable than a Flightmaster, and I think proportionally it works better. Traditional chronograph layout there, Speedmaster dial and inner bezel, very much like the Space Race type of watch. Mm-hmm. Just again, this is the 1450014 case model, and I've always kind of liked this watch. I think it's a cool throwback, great movement. Everybody goes back to Speedmaster vintages because of the movement. I think it's a cool piece, and at a value proposition for a buy, that watch can be had for $300 to $3,500. Yeah, completely ready to go and be worn. Sure. So you can go buy most Speedmasters in that price range. Mm-hmm. But if you wanted to get into a vintage piece, a lot of vintage Speedmasters are very expensive. So especially pieces this old in a traditional Speedmaster case, $10,000. So for $3,500, kind of a cool buy.
Okay, yeah. So this is a watch that underappreciated out there. You can get it. It's a good value for dollars. That's why it's our buy watch, the vintage Omega Flightmaster.
Definitely.
All right. So what's our sell watch, Jason?
So the sell watch, and again, I'm going to go ahead and post that graphic inside the sell column, is our 3800. Right, Nautilus. Josh knows quite a bit about this watch. He's I think sold probably more of these than anybody in the office.
Probably. Yeah. On the small side, what is this? A 37 millimeter?
37. Yeah, I think it's 37 and a half. But I think this piece, it keeps graduating stronger and stronger as we see all of the Nautilus, especially getting almost unwieldy pricing. They just keep escalating, and then what happens is people look at alternatives, and first maybe they go to other brands or they go to the pieces. And then when you really decide, like, you know what, I do really want the Nautilus, I think 3,800 is probably the next entry level price point. And people start to, especially guys that have smaller wrist, under 6 inches wrist, they start to look at, can I wear a 37? Is it truly a mid-size? Some guys pull it off. I don't think it's a mainstream size, but the watch is pretty decent, I would say, in current standards. I mean,
so it's a sell because any Nautilus right now is a sell watch.
Right.
The values of these have jumped up across the board. Every Nautilus, it seems like it has some more than others. Obviously, 5711 leading the way. 5980s we talked about in the past. 5980 steels are going for $80,000. It's absurd. Not absurd, but it's crazy is what it is. That's the word I mean. Like it's just crazy. The demand for these watches has jumped so high. So if you have an older Nautilus, that's gone up in value too. So that would be your sell watch because you're going to get fantastic value, especially if you bought this new.
Right.
Then you're
think about like
doing well.
How long ago the 3800s were sold new, and if you bought that, back then they didn't sell well, so you're probably getting a discount on that piece.
Well, we've talked about this in the past in terms of vintage and what watches go up in value. It's watches that at the time were kind of undervalued. They didn't, Patek has always been known for making for dress watches. So when they made the Nautilus as like somewhat of a sport watch, it didn't sell that well. They didn't make as many. It was, on the cheaper side of their price point. So they didn't really get respected the way they do now. So now there's obviously more value. So, but that's a watch specifically. That's a sell watch because you're definitely getting a lot of value for that now.
Certainly.
All right, so trade watch is normally a watch that kind of has just been staying constant, hasn't gone up, hasn't gone down, and is easy watch to move, for like value into something else. So what are we doing?
Right. So trade watch, I went with the 16750. This is a watch that has gone up, so it doesn't necessarily meet the traditional trade value.
Okay.
But the reason why I picked this for trade, one, I wanted to showcase the piece in the show because I think it's super relevant right now in the market. Everybody's on the fence with all these Pepsi dials.
Sure.
And what better way than to go back to vintage and get the one that's the actual Pepsi that makes it relevant.
Sure. Which reference is this?
This is 16750.
Okay, 16750.
So, yeah. So I think the reason I went with trade for this, even though it's on a rise and it's not like the very, very consistent aspect of trade, is that it's a piece that you don't need to sell right now and you don't need to buy right now. You can keep it, and it's just going to keep going up, and it's always in demand. The discontinue kind of story that we said last week, we haven't heard if that's going to be true or not.
Oh yeah.
But if it is, these are going to go up. If it's not, these are still going to go up. The steel piece came out, made the watch relevant again. The Tudor version made this watch relevant again. And even though the Pepsi was always relevant to collectors, now it's being more mainstream out there, and I'm sure we're going to see other brands start to do red and blue watches. So I think like this piece is just going to be a constant trend.
Well, right now those sell right around unless it has some like monkey paw 6 or whatever. There's all sorts of craziness that goes on with these, but right around 10 grand or so, right?
Yeah.
So this is a watch that 2.5, 3 years ago was probably like a 6,500, maybe a little bit, maybe even a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, but in that range. So they've definitely gone up, but in the last year they've kind of stayed right around 10,000, and this is the 16750, not the 1665. The 1675s are the older versions. Those ones you can, people are asking. I think I saw
20,
one for like more full set box and papers for $40,000-$50,000 on some of them. So when you get into very old vintage like 60s and 70s, that's what you're talking about. Now you're talking about watch from the 80s and 90s, right? Right. Or even do they go into the 2000s with this model? I don't
this is so. This is the type of vintage watch that I would be comfortable owning because it's not too far, right?
The technology is somewhat relevant,
The technology is still, it's still within your lifespan. It's still something that, obviously serviceable. All of them are going to be serviceable for generations beyond, but it's somewhat relevant. Like, it's like me going to, you going to buy like a 1990s Japanese car because it was in your era, your lifespan, as opposed to like something from, the 50s or
an A-series Panerai.
Yeah.
It's 20 years old.
Which is, its hashtag is what?
Hashtag 2A. That's right, Jason. So, all right, cool. So the trade watch is going to be a very relevant, but, trade easy to sell. It's an easy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of demand for that watch too. Whereas the Patek is certainly going to be worth a lot more, but it's also not going to be as easy. There's not as many buyers, but when you do sell, the price is absorbent, right?
Yeah, at some point you could probably flip those around and make the argument for either one. But in this order, I feel like the trade is, from a perspective that it would be my watch,
Right.
I would feel more comfortable retaining that watch. Whereas with the Patek, I'd have more out, and be a little bit more inclined to sell it.
Sure.
Because
Well,
you have that much money in limbo.
Agreed. And if you're trading that Rolex, you got to think, well, so say if we flip them, right? You put the Patek, the 3800 two-tone, 37 millimeter, 70s Nautilus as a trade watch. What other watches does somebody like that have in their collection? Or what do they want to trade for? Or what you know what I'm saying? So that's usually a trade is you're trading it for another watch, not dollars and cents. So I don't know if I had that watch and I wanted to trade it to somebody who wanted that watch, what would they have in their collection that would be relevant to me? Whereas the Rolex, that fits in almost every collection, so you have a lot more. There's probably going to be a lot more trade bait out there. So you're that guy's also going to wear probably other Rolexes. He might wear a Panerai. He's going to be wearing a lot of relevant watches that are going to be interesting to trade towards.
That's a great point. And to compound on that a little bit more is because of the size of the 3800. If you're trading it to somebody, they're probably also going to have tiny mid-size watches.
Right.
And I feel like most guys buy a 3800 and then say, "Oh man, this is way too small for me," and try and get rid of it.
Sometimes.
So then you're also combating trading for another small watch, which is a good point. I didn't think about that when I put the order together, but it is pretty relevant.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, the chat box is going crazy today.
Yeah.
There's guys talking crap on each other's spouses. I don't know. Okay, I'll leave that alone. I think there's a joke. I'm like midway into some sort of, I don't know if this is an argument or what, but
there's some political
sorry I
stuff
couldn't
going.
take your call this morning. I was talking to your spouse. I don't know if that's a joke.
Let's hope it's
all right.
Witty banter.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So buy, sell, trade. Buy a vintage Omega Flightmaster. Easy to buy. Low dollar price point. It's also serviceable. It's not going to be a lot of risk in purchasing one of those. Sure. Sell your vintage Nautilus and then trade your Pepsi.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty reasonable layout. I would say in the chat if you guys want to ring in and if you would rearrange that order at all, or I think it stands pretty well the way it's put together.
Yeah, cool. I want to say thank you to Alex NG because he just complimented me on my Bell & Ross, and I like compliments. So
Tanzil also came back and said it was a joke, Josh.
Okay,
We're all friends here. All right, I'm glad that everybody is friendly. We don't like you guys though. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's pull up. Can we pull up the poll?
No.
One more time?
No, we're good. No reason for that.
Look, you're... So
screw you, Jason.
Yeah, the polls evened out a little bit for the podcast. Josh is at 45.83% now, and I have pulled ahead victorious to 54.17%, to be precise. He's no longer jumping up and dancing around the camera.
So we're not all friends, by the way. Jason and I definitely not friends right now.
But
all right,
we're definitely not headed to a barbecue after this. So.
Yeah. All right, chat questions here. Do we have any good questions? Hey guys, throw your questions in the chat box.
Yeah, we got nothing else to do right now, guys. What are you doing?
Let's see here.
Let's go back up.
I don't really see any good questions here.
Stream. Josh got my vote on this one. Clive Watch Wrangler said that he voted for Josh. Mark III Candy Hands.
All right, so Richard Bonanno says Omega Railmaster versus an Explorer 1. What do you pick? So, it's interesting. So value for dollars, the Omega Railmaster is going to have a better movement, and it's certainly going to be less expensive, depending on which one you pick, and you have a variety of dial colors. Explorer 1 is going to be, it's a stainless steel Rolex, so it's going to be somewhat tough to find. Not exactly, obviously, it's not, a Pepsi or Daytona or whatnot, but a little bit tough to find. You probably won't be able to get a discount. If you do, it'll be very tiny, and you only have one option in terms of dial. I'm guessing he's talking about the 39 millimeter.
Yeah, I would assume. Yeah.
Now they put lume on the dial, which is good because lume is good. What do you pick, Jason?
I like the loomed. I like the loomed marker, so I'd probably go with that. I think it's a.
So you pick the Explorer one with
Yeah.
loom over a Railmaster?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's a more forever type of watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I would probably say is future proofed as to, at least for a little bit longer, as staying in your collection.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think the other one you get tired of and kind of move it out faster. I know a lot of guys never keep everything in the collection, but I think that the loomed Explorer makes more sense, and it's a more versatile. The watch itself is already kind of a tool watch.
Mm-hmm.
So just being a better version of that watch, I think
Sure.
it's the more versatile piece.
All right, here's another one. Horology Homies asks, he asked me specifically, Josh, Rolex Kermit or the Daytona Zenith? Interesting. So I guess we're talking about two stainless steel watches. Zenith Daytona is a $25,000 watch right now. So you're not going to have to spend that on a Kermit. Kermit's going to be, around 10 grand at this point, which is crazy because just 2 or 3 years, I'd probably say 4 or 5 years ago, that's a $55,000 to $6,000 watch. For my money, it's tough because I really like the Daytona. I know you don't, Jason. It doesn't have a date. It's a little small for you. For me, personally, if those are my two options, I'm picking the Rolex movement Daytona because that's the value play in my opinion. You pick that up for about 15 right now. But between those two, I pick the Kermit. What do you pick?
So here's a weird value. I can never really separate the value side of it from how you just mentioned. Value wise, I want to go Kermit.
Sure.
But I think there's something to be said for, the value is rising on the El Primeros. There's something to be said for the fact that it either is an El Primero or it isn't an El Primero.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Kermit, there's a lot of people putting bezels on stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Frankenstein type of watches, which
That's
your
right.
classroom I watched yesterday. If you guys didn't.
Great segue there, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you watch my my episode of the classroom, that's one of the topics we went over. Is that when you're buying a somewhat vintage or an older watch, you have to know what can be done in order to know what's going on. So simply swapping a bezel insert from black to green makes that watch much more valuable. And a lot of times the papers, and I'm trying to remember the difference. I want to say it's either watches sold in the U.S. or watches sold overseas. Either or, when they were distributed, one of them didn't say it on the papers. So there was legitimately Kermits that were sold that didn't designate that it was a Kermit on the papers.
Right. And that can only be determined by a watchmaker.
No.
If it was,
well, not even.
I believe there's a way to run the serial number from the movement to make sure if it was supposed to be. There's a ledger somewhere that I guess from what I've read on forums and stuff. No, there's supposed to be a ledger with the serial number gap for movements of which ones were supposed to.
Okay, all right, that's good.
Who knows?
So we'll call Jason, and Jason will talk to Mike Michaels.
Yeah.
And
So
he'll give
to
you
my
that
point,
answer.
while I
you
think
see his phone number down there, call him for those inquiries, please.
To my point in the answering the question, just to roundabout back to it, is I think I would wear the Hulk, but I think for having something very distinctive and different, I think the El Primero is a better Zenith. Yeah.
And how crazy is that? I mean, so about 5 years ago, a Zenith Daytona was not worth any more than a regular steel Daytona. And now both of those have skyrocketed in value.
All boats rise. We say it all the time, right?
It's awesome. I don't know. So they all have to come down a little bit, I assume, but I don't know if they ever go down below what their supposed list price would be. Right? Well, I mean, Zenith Daytonas were, in the 80s, like $3,200 or something like that. I remember someone showed me their purchase receipt. So that's amazing. Let's see here.
Peter K is asking, can I expect any discounts on the Cartier Santos from an AD? I'm assuming the new one that we showcased last week is what he's talking about. I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, you're a Cartier AD.
Yeah, I think at first it's probably no. I mean, let's be real. I think at first it's probably a watch that's going to be very hard to get.
The Cartier Santos,
the new one.
Yeah.
So I don't think so.
I mean, it's not we might have one in our case downstairs.
Yeah. So I mean. It's a fine line. I don't think so.
It's only $6,600 retail. Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of watch for the money.
It's tough.
So I'd say just pay list.
Yeah, pay list on a wire.
So Anil asks, he was asking if a gilt dial adds value to a 1675. So when you start getting into like 60s and 70s Rolexes, every little thing adds some sort of value. So yes, if you have a gilt dial 1675, yeah, that's certainly going to add value to it. And let's see here. There's a lot of good questions that popped up here. I guess we could probably just stay on for another hour or so just answering these questions. You cool with that, Harrison?
Yes.
Okay.
Was that
all right? Awesome. You don't
Thank
have anywhere
you.
to be,
Awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Sweet, dude.
It's not Friday, right?
Let's see here. Actually, let's just get what the right. Oh yeah, Clive is upset because the poll says Omega Seamaster, not Flightmaster. So by the way, that poll is null and void. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
So we lost on a technicality?
You lost on a technicality, not we. I win. I win on a technicality, and I'll take that every fucking day.
Nah.
All right.
I don't think so. That's fake news.
So, alrighty. Is there any other questions here?
Whoa.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not going to read that. I almost went for it, Clive, but yeah, glad I didn't read that out loud.
Eric Nielsen says that the Daytona is fine if you don't need to see what time it is. I disagree with that. I think it's legible.
It's fine if you don't need to know what date it is.
So Logan Hall says if Rolex made a perpetual calendar Cellini, that would be great. And I agree with you, and I think that might be coming up because Rolex in the past has made a perpetual calendar module, and like how they brought back that moon phase because it was an older module. I think that would
it would make sense too, because I think the Cellini is an excellent way for them to bring out movements that they don't want to necessarily put in modern cases.
Right.
So experimental.
And the moon
phase
is doing really well, better than probably any other Cellini. They brought back Cellini case with the last two Cellini models that they
Before we wrap up the show,
we're wrapping up.
DGB has the best question of the night. It's, what do you guys think of the Finissimo? And that watch is freaking awesome, and I like it a lot. That's what I think.
Okay. Well, Jason can have his opinion on that one.
You know you like that watch.
I mean, it's okay.
Right.
It's
Anyways,
cool.
Josh's opinion doesn't matter, as the poll has proven tonight, because he lost
null and void, bro.
this or that. As usual, Friday night, so we're going to sign off.
Yeah.
Let these guys get home early, and we're going to stop talking now. So,
Cool. All right. So again, like always, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. We are at how many? We are at 54,000 subscribers. We want to try to get to 154,000 subscribers by next week. So guys, tell everybody you know. Tell your friends, your neighbors, your neighbors' neighbors, your neighbors' neighbors' neighbors, people you meet on the street, people you meet on an airplane, on a bus, in an Uber. Wherever you meet people, go ahead and tell them to subscribe to our channel. Check us out on Instagram. My Instagram is Mr. Thanos, very simple, MR, and then my last name. Jason has a terrible Instagram name that we're not going to discuss here.
Thank you very much.
Check us out on, check out the Classroom, which is now live. You can find out how to buy watches online from me. Also, okay, I guess we're done here.